They couldn't buy a new car, a new dress, or even coffee without a ration stamp. Still, by 1945, household savings hit record highs. The Great Depression's survivors turned wartime limits into lifelong wealth habits. What money secrets did ordinary workers discover when enough became the new rich? The truth lies in the quiet discipline of the 1940s. 25. Paycheck patriotism, when every worker funded the war through payroll bond deductions. Between 1942 and 1945, more than 85 million Americans gave part of every paycheck to buy war bonds. The smallest deduction could start at 25 cents. Factory workers hung posters that read, "Payroll savings is your share in victory." By war's end, bonds raised $185 billion, enough to cover half the war's cost. These automatic savings became a discipline that lasted long after VJ Day. Families learned to save before they spent, and many kept those habits for decades. 24. Backyard victory gardens slashed grocery costs when food prices jumped 40%. When food inflation hit 40% by 1943, Americans turned their lawns into grocery aisles. The government printed posters reading, "Plant a victory garden. Stop the axis with vegetables." Over 20 million gardens produced nearly 40% of the nation's vegetables. Kids weeded beans beside their parents, and neighbors swapped seeds like currency. For many, it wasn't just patriotism, it was survival. Tomatoes, peas, and corn replaced rationed canned goods. By harvest season, families saved real money, freeing their ration coupons for other essentials. 23. Ration books turned every family into expert budgeters for food, fuel, and clothes. Every American held a ration book stamped with the government seal. Sugar, meat, gas, even shoes required coupons. A gallon of gas cost 15 cents, but you couldn't buy it without a stamp. Housewives tracked every coupon in kitchen ledgers. Some swapped legally to balance needs, a family trading sugar stamps for gas. The system forced discipline, teaching ordinary families to plan consumption like accountants. Rationing ended in 1946, but its lessons, budgeting, restraint, and prioritizing essentials, became a lasting financial mindset. 22. Repair shops boomed as "fix it, don't toss it" became national policy. By 1943, new consumer goods nearly vanished. Factories made tanks, not toasters. A broken radio went to the local fix-it shop, where parts were recycled from dead ones. Shoe repair shops tripled their business. Newspapers ran "make do and mend" columns, showing how to patch or rewire at home. The War Production Board promoted repair as patriotic. Resourcefulness became the economy's backbone. That habit, stretching life from every object, helped post-war families save for the new appliances soon waiting on store shelves. 21. Salvage drives paid cash for scrap metal, paper, and even bacon fat. Kids became little entrepreneurs during wartime salvage drives. They dragged wagons of tin cans, newspapers, and even bacon fat, sold to make explosives. The government paid by the pound, turning trash into wartime fuel. Posters declared, "Your waste is war material." In 1 week of 1943, Americans collected 255,000 tons of scrap. Schools competed for highest totals. It wasn't charity, it was cash, purpose, and pride. Every bit of salvage meant more steel for tanks, more savings for the family. 20. Credit unions through factories and veterans groups offered fair loans and savings plans. Wartime wages rose, but so did costs. Private banks favored big clients, so workers formed credit unions. By 1945, membership topped 3 million, driven by factories, shipyards, and veteran organizations. These small cooperatives offered low-interest loans and automatic savings deductions. They were built on trust, run by members, for members. Many workers used them to fund homes after the war. Credit unions gave ordinary Americans access to fair finance, setting the stage for the middle-class boom of the 1950s. 19. Envelopes ruled the kitchen table, rent, groceries, and gas. Each had a slot. Every payday, cash was divided by hand. One envelope for rent, another for groceries, another for gas. Families tracked each category, spending only what they could see. If the envelope was empty, that expense waited until next week. No overdrafts, no confusion. This simple discipline, often taught by Depression survivors, kept households stable through war shortages. The envelope system taught real budgeting, the kind that kept people grounded when Ration coupons ran out, but the bills didn't. 18. Sewing and mending circles kept wardrobes alive through war shortages. When fabric was rationed in 1942, women turned sewing from hobby to necessity. Communities gathered in church basements to repair clothes, trade fabric scraps, and teach stitching. The make and mend clubs grew fast, saving families hundreds a year. Old curtains became dresses. Torn uniforms became play clothes. Patterns circulated in Good Housekeeping and Life magazines. These circles turned skill into survival, and skill into community. Every repaired shirt stretched a paycheck a little further and gave pride instead of pity. 17. Neighbors swapped goods and services when stores had bare shelves. Money couldn't always buy what you needed in wartime America. So, bartering filled the gaps. One man fixed radios for eggs. A woman traded canned peaches for spare tires. A survey from 1944 showed 1 in 3 families traded or shared goods weekly. These informal exchanges were often arranged through churches or local bulletin boards. They proved that when money lost flexibility, trust replaced it. Barter networks gave small towns resilience that cash alone never could. 16. Community canning co-ops preserved food and built social safety nets. Canning was an old tradition, but in the 1940s, it became industrial. Town halls, schools, and churches built community canning centers. By 1945, there were over 3,800 across the country. Families brought produce from gardens, used shared pressure cookers, and took home neatly labeled jars. Each household saved an average of $150 per year in food costs, a big sum in the 1940s. The co-ops also fed those who couldn't afford groceries, proving cooperation could stretch food further than any ration book. 15. Carpool clubs cut fuel use by half and kept tires from wearing out early. With rubber and gas rationed, cars became community property. In 1943, over 10 million Americans joined carpool clubs. Each member chipped in for fuel stamps, shared rides, and tracked mileage in notebooks. Government posters urged, "When you ride alone, you ride with Hitler." Tires were so scarce, some drivers filled leaks with sawdust. Carpooling wasn't optional. It was patriotism on wheels. These small groups saved millions of gallons of gas weekly and turned strangers into teammates long before rideshare had a name. 14th installment payments were kept small and simple. No ballooning debt allowed credit existed, but under tight discipline. Stores let families buy refrigerators or radios through weekly installments, usually no more than 10% of pay. The Office of Price Administration limited interest rates to stop runaway debt. In 1944, Sears even advertised no-interest plans for victory buyers. Families paid off before upgrading, ensuring no lingering balances. This simple idea, own what you can afford, kept households solvent through war and peace. Debt carried shame, not convenience. Every purchase had to justify itself in the budget book. 13. Layaway programs helped families buy post-war appliances, one payment at a time. In 1945, stores filled with new refrigerators, washing machines, and radios. Layaway gave families their first claim without credit risk. A small down payment locked the item. Weekly installments built ownership. No interest, no debt collectors. Sears and Montgomery Ward ran entire departments around it. Some families waited 6 months for a fridge, but it was theirs, fair and square. Layaway made post-war dreams feel earned. It was a bridge between wartime thrift and peacetime comfort, and it worked because patience still mattered. 12. Sinking funds handled taxes, school costs, and medical bills before emergencies hit. Before checking accounts with auto pay, families made their own insurance against surprise bills. They called it a sinking fund, cash set aside each payday for predictable costs like taxes, tuition, or repairs. Many used old coffee tins or labeled envelopes. The habit came from wartime saving discipline and Depression-era fear of debt. By budgeting in advance, they avoided panic when the tax collector knocked. This quiet strategy built confidence. It turned chaos into control, long before financial planners gave it a fancy name. 11. Fuel stamps were traded legally to balance shortages without cheating the system. Gasoline, oil, and kerosene were rationed by letter codes. A for basic, B for war workers, C for doctors. Families with extra fuel stamps could swap within approved limits. It was a black market's lawful cousin. Newspapers in 1943 warned of counterfeit coupons flooding cities like Chicago and Detroit. Most trades, though, stayed fair, neighbors helping neighbors keep cars running. The system's success showed how ordinary people self-regulated scarcity. But every fair trade also hinted at the next story: what happened when rationing ended and temptation returned. 10. War surplus and thrift shops became the middle-class marketplace. After 1945, government warehouses overflowed with unused uniforms, tents, and equipment. Surplus stores turned those leftovers into opportunity. A wool army blanket cost $2. A steel trunk, $5. Families refashioned military coats into school jackets. Thrift shops, supported by churches and charities, became essential too. By 1948, nearly 30% of households shopped secondhand at least once a month. It wasn't seen as cheap, it was smart. These stores stretched paychecks, recycled the war's leftovers, and made frugality respectable again. 9. Families saved grease, bones, and fat to resell for cash or soap making. The government paid 4 cents a pound for rendered fat. Housewives strained bacon drippings and collected grease in tin cans. By 1944, 500 million pounds had been gathered nationwide, used to make explosives and soap. Kids watched mothers pour leftover grease through cheesecloth into coffee tins. It smelled awful, but meant extra grocery money. Posters read, "Save waste fats to win the war." Even bones were boiled down for glue. Nothing went to waste, and nothing felt too small to matter. 8. Kids bought school savings stamps and learned thrift from first grade. Every Monday, classrooms turned into mini banks. Students bought 10-cent savings stamps, pasted them into booklets, and watched them grow into a $25 war bond. By 1944, over 30 million children participated. Teachers said it built character. Parents said it built habits. Those little stamps made saving visible, something to touch, count, and show off. For many kids, it was their first investment. And when the war ended, they cashed in, discovering that patience could pay for bicycles, college, or their first suits. 7. Victory loan drives turned patriotism into disciplined saving. After the war, the Treasury launched Victory loan drives to fund the nation's recovery. Posters showed soldiers coming home under the slogan, "Finish the fight, buy bonds." Families who'd bought war bonds kept buying. In 1946 alone, citizens purchased over $12 billion worth. Factories gave time off to attend rallies. Saving became a civic duty, and bonds were proof of loyalty. Many families later used them for down payments or college funds. It tied personal stability to national strength, a connection that faded too soon. 6. No waste cooking turned leftovers and scraps into full meals. Wartime cooks had to make everything count. Use it up became a national mantra. Bones became broth, stale bread became pudding, and every vegetable scrap turned into soup. The USDA published victory menus showing how to stretch food for the week. One 1944 pamphlet claimed families could save $5 weekly this way, a third of rent in some towns. These meals were creative, communal, and proud. Waste was shameful, but it also sparked innovation. What happened when families found ways to grow their own food supply? 5. Backyard chickens and rabbits turned lawns into food security. During the war, grocery shelves went empty fast, so families raised food at home. By 1943, over 4 million households kept chickens, and rabbits filled backyard hutches from Boston to Bakersfield. The USDA even released pamphlets teaching victory meat farming. A single hen could save a family $25 a year in eggs. It was food, independence, and quiet defiance against shortages. Some neighborhoods even pooled feed or rotated breeding pairs. When money ran short, this habit proved priceless, because homegrown food never needed a ration stamp. 4. Utility rationing made heating one room a symbol of teamwork, not struggle. Fuel rationing meant homes ran on half the heat they used before the war. Families sealed off unused rooms and gathered around one fire or stove. In 1944, coal deliveries dropped 30%, and thermostats were luxuries. Kids did homework by using a shared light to save electricity. Utility companies praised conservation heroes in local newspapers. It wasn't comfort, it was cooperation. Families saved up to $10 monthly, which went straight into savings stamps. That shared endurance became identity. Yet after victory, comfort returned faster than discipline ever did. 3. Every home had a small repair bench with shared parts and tools. The post-war boom started with scarcity. Tools were precious, so people built neighborhood benches stocked with spare screws, wires, and salvaged metal. A 1946 Popular Mechanics issue showed families how to build one from crate wood. Fixing became social currency. You helped a neighbor with his mower. He fixed your radio. Stores sold repair kits before they sold furniture. It was skill, thrift, and pride in one place. Those benches built more than savings. They built competence. But when disposable goods arrived, those benches slowly vanished. 2. Neighborhood lending networks solved problems before banks could. Banks took weeks, neighbors took hours. Informal lending clubs quietly ran through factory towns. You could borrow $10 for rent or $50 for a doctor bill. No forms, just trust. A small ledger tracked repayments. These networks often included veterans and single mothers left behind during the war. By 1948, some evolved into official credit circles and mutual aid funds. They worked because reputation was collateral. These groups showed that financial safety wasn't about institutions, it was about community. But one final idea turned all that trust into future wealth. 1. Post-war savings plans turned ration discipline into college funds and home down payments. When the war ended, Americans faced a new challenge: peace. Those who saved through bonds, envelopes, and ration habits kept going. They funneled every spare dollar into savings accounts and GI Bill plans. By 1950, household savings rates hit 14%, the highest ever recorded. Many first homes and college educations came from that wartime discipline. It proved that thrift wasn't a wartime act. It was a lifelong strategy. The same quiet habits that won a war built a generation's prosperity. And that's the part history forgets too easily. If this glimpse into 1940s, money life hits you harder than expected, stay curious. There's another story waiting: smarter habits, simpler times, real lessons. Click the next video before it fades, and keep learning how ordinary people once made every dollar count.